welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage. Or for the last few days, Mountains Home Improvement. The wife reminded me it had been about 10 years since we started our kitchen remodel. It's about time to finish the second half of that, which is moving walls and improving the downstairs bathroom. So she got re-engaged in that project, and that means I'm in there helping, if you will, doing demo, building walls, etc. She's a good partner. We work pretty well together, and that's that. So I had limited time this weekend. The weather took a turn. We got some snow, got some rain and almost 50-degree temperatures, then it went right down to single digits, and we got snow Sunday night into Monday yesterday, and woke up this morning, Tuesday, and 1 degree Fahrenheit. Positive. Hey, it was above zero, I guess. And today the sun's out midday. You don't die when you go outside, but hey, it's January 20-something, so moving on. I had very little time to spend in the shop, but Saturday night I brought a bunch of tools out to the garage about 9:30 or so in the evening. Looked at the intake manifold, which I had already cleaned up. There was some casting flaws inside. My top was ready to install, but I knew the manifold's pretty heavy. I wanted to install it empty so I can eyeball the gaskets, adjust them. Anyway, I come out here Saturday night, I get a wild hair. I'm going to put the manifold on. I dig out the intake gaskets with clear RTV. I put a little dab in the middle where the heat crossover would be on a stock cylinder head, just to hold the gasket, plus around the water ports. They don't really need sealer there, but again, the gasket's big and heavy, and it's up off the china wall 1/4 of an inch or so, so you have to hold it there somehow. So both sides glued on, and I knew from trial fitting the manifold, I showed you those ridges that are in the cylinder head and how fat the manifold is. I knew I had to kind of put it in like this because they've moved everything around. That ridge does not exist on a stock Chevy cylinder head. But for whatever reason, for the valve cover upper rail, it sticks out over the intake manifold gasket surface. I got everything glued on Saturday night, went to drop the manifold on, and now that there's an intake gasket blocking my path of 60 thousandths, that's how tight it is, it would not go onto the engine. Now the manifolds touch the sealer. It was a mess. Only thing you can do at that point is start wiping before everything hardens up. Against my better judgment, I had used a tube of ultra black Permatex. It doesn't wipe off as cleanly as the Permatex Clear, which I used around the water ports, like I mentioned. This stuff you can wipe off, it almost looks like you waxed everything when you were done. And most black RTV does the same thing. I worked at a Chrysler dealership in the 80s. I just used my last tube of RTV Mopar silicone, black. Every job you got a new tube, and of course, you had a pile of them after a while. So not willing to have to clean up the ultra black. Even on the end, I like to wipe the end when I'm done, so it looks like there's an actual gasket in there. I can't stand when this looks like it just, pushed out and got smeared around. It looks terrible. After the manifold's tight and it's pushed it all out, I carefully, with my finger and some paper towels and whatnot, I have to clean that up. I can't stand it otherwise. So, and Saturday night I had put sealant on all the bolts and everything. It was a terrible mess. Probably took me 45 minutes to clean it all up back to ground zero. And then, of course, the rest of the weekend I had to work in the house, but today I got a game plan. The manifold was relieved across either side anyway. I relieved it more, had to try it a couple times, and I thought I pretty much had it, even though it's a machine fit. Once again, I glued everything on. This time I chose just some black RTV silicone. This came from Yukon with a rear end. Says it won't leak. O2 sensor safe, oil resistant, everything you'd want in a black sealer. But this stuff wipes off nicely, so I got it all ready to go back on, and I could not. It was so close. I actually took my fist and just popped that like Fonzarelli, and it popped on there. Next time I have it off, which hopefully is no time soon, I'll have to grind a little bit more. But finally, I was able to put the manifold on. And then carefully, I can start assembling everything else. I have actual washcloths sitting down in the manifold right now, and please remind me to take them out before I put the throttle bodies on. But I put those down on the manifold and bolted the top on. Saturday, my shorter button head bolts showed up. Those each have a drop of blue Loctite on them. Somebody commented that, the factory doesn't Loctite everything I do. That's true. However, the factory is, doesn't always do the same things you expect out of what you're building. I worked on Harleys for a long time, and that teaches you that everything will rattle apart. Race cars are no different. So it does no harm to treat every bolt. It's either going to have a lock washer, locked tight, something, oil, whatever's the appropriate. No bolt just goes in the hole dry, no matter how simple its job. I managed to find an adapter fitting and a coolant sensor I had laying around. This actually came with the Ilmor stuff. I got 3 or 4 sets of low mileage coolant temp sensors, etc. I just showed you the balancer on that little clip. 50 degrees before top dead center is where you install the Holley dual sync distributor, which is up there. I got to drag it down. You line the rotor up to number 1 approximately at 50 degrees before top dead center, and then when you actually power up the distributor or the whole ECU and wiring, there are little LED indicator lights inside the distributor. At 50 degrees, you rotate it till like both come on, and then one goes off, and then you move it back. It's all in the instructions, but that's where you put it in at 50 degrees before top dead center. And I bought a iron gear, a 0.500 shaft to fit the Holley distributor. The Holley distributor says that their steel gear is compatible with all camshafts, but Howard Cam says put an iron gear on it, so that's what I'm going to do. And it'd be interesting just to put anything in there and see how long it lasts. Probably outlast, me, but, well, hopefully not. But anyway, so that's next after I put the throttle bodies on, and maybe soon we can stop talking about the 496 and go back to working on the 47 Ford pickup that this is going in. When my friend from up north mailed me this intake a week and a half ago, I also bought a Motion Raceworks Icon 102 millimeter throttle body and the quick release that bolts onto the front of it. Icon stand, it's interchangeable connections on the throttle body. I had read, they came out, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years ago, time flies, the Motion Raceworks Icon throttle body. Somewhere along the line, they realized, it might have been even Cletus McFarlane that figured this out, but that the 3 screws for the throttle blade would loosen up. And they had, I don't know if they had a technical service bulletin, or I just saw it in a video that they now TIG weld those. And then I kind of forgot about that. I took the throttle body out of the package the other day to put it on the Hogan intake manifold for the 440 LS motor for the Race 55 Chevy, and flipped it over, and the screws were not TIG welded. So I called them up, and to make sure I remembered correctly, I said, do you now TIG weld those And should I? And he says, well, you can if you feel the need, if you're in a hurry, but why don't you just send it back to us? We'll fix it and send it back. We got a whole procedure to do it. So I explained to him before I even asked the question that I didn't buy it directly from them. I got it from a third party, if you will, and they don't care. That's, if you look them up, again, I'm not a paid spokesperson, but when you get treated right, you should probably mention it. They're an American company trying to use American products, and they're all racers, and they care. So I shipped it back to them, and I assume in a week or so I'll have it back, and then I can install it worry-free that my little screws aren't going to fall into the engine. The Chinese copy, or which is probably the Holley throttle body that I had mocked up on the intake manifold, they're not welded. I was going to do it myself, so I don't know. Pretty good deal if you ask me. And I guess that's the end of it. Listening in the background, I thought the heater was kicking on. Next time, we're probably done talking about the 496 until we're ready to do something more fun with it. So, been a fun little project, definite distraction down the rabbit hole of manifolds, but it should be good. Have a nice evening. Stay warm wherever you are. I heard it's cold everywhere.